Hi everyone, welcome to ANZREG webinar on giving feedback on the IGeLU 2018 conference highlights. We're recording this session and we'll make the PowerPoint presentation and the recording available for download via the ANZREG website later this week. We'll also have chat if there's any questions that you want to submit or ask. If you can type those into the chat, please, and we'll have a question session at the end where we can answer any questions that you have, or any issues that you have hearing us or with the mechanics. Please type those into the chat too, and I'll keep an eye on that as we move through. So today we'll have Bill Constantine from UNSW Sydney, Lynn Billington from State Library of New South Wales, Stacey Van Grol from UQ, and me giving you some feedback on our experiences at IGeLU 2018, which was held in Prague in August this year. And the presentation has links to the program, the Ex Libris presentations, which are on Ex Libris's Knowledge Centre, the customer presentations, which are on the IGeLU website, available for download by IGeLU members, and the Developers Day presentations, which were recorded and are available on YouTube. The big news about IGeLU 2018 was that Dave Allen from State Library of Queensland was elected IGeLU Chair, taking over from Theo Engelman. We also have 3 new committee members elected to the steering committee, and these include Jonny Thingbo from BibSys Consortium in Norway, Maribel Alvarado from the Catholic University of Chile, and Cindy Greenspun from Yale University in the States. So this year's conference was hosted by the National Library of Technology in Prague. All IGeLU member countries were represented at this year's conference, including 13 Australians. Monash, UQ, Macquarie, RMIT, Flinders, Cavall, State Library of New South Wales and State Library of Queensland. There were 2 New Zealanders from University of Otago and the National Library of New Zealand, and 15 delegates from other parts of Asia, including Japan, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong and Singapore. 84 Ex Libris staff attended the event, and Ex Libris also ran a support desk throughout the conference. I'll now hand over to Bill to talk about.
Okay, thanks Sue. Okay, I'm going to just talk about what were the highlights of things being talked about. Ex Libris, they're no longer talking about the ALMA platform, because that term's not really relevant anymore. There's more than just ALMA that's in the cloud. The conversation is now about the Ex Libris higher education cloud platform, with a focus on open, interoperable systems where other products can integrate with the Ex Libris platform, because Ex Libris is starting to recognise issues and concerns about us being locked into one vendor. Esploro, they were really pushing that, I thought. They had quite a few presentations about that. RMIT is one of the 7 early adopters, and along with Southern Cross University. There was a few presentations on that. Also, they've purchased, I didn't know this, they've purchased RefWorks and also Pivot. So hopefully in the future, RefWorks should be working well with Primo. The next thing was DARA. It's a data analysis recommendation assistant, and it measures the behaviour and the configurations and the usage, and I think it's a work in progress, and it should give you suggestions on what to do just based on what's happening in Alma. For example, recommending that an extra book be purchased because it's being borrowed a lot. I'd like to see how you could configure it in the future to do something useful, but we'll see. Prioritise it. Alma working groups have been pushing for some time for a list of known issues that there are. So Exlibris is proposing sharing a list of known issues per focus area with the community via the Alma user area menu that's in the top right-hand corner of your screen, where each institution could add its priority to that list. So Exlibris will review ongoing and include top priority issues in their work plan, and then move on to the next focus area. They plan to start with a trial in Q4 2018, Q4 2019. Primo VE, there's 85 live institutions now and 100 are in the implementation. It's important to know that there's no mandate for existing customers to move to Primo VE. So we can migrate when we're ready. There's a focus on discovering your way, whether it's Summon, Primo, or a third-party discovery tool or other strategies for aggregating, managing and exposing data for sharing and access. The next thing is the second instance of Primo Central. There's the fully redundant instance should be up and running by now. They said that'd be done in September. I haven't heard any different. Last thing there, Content Corner. It includes, you can find it in the online help. You get a home and then the product and then the Content Corner. It was introduced to keep track of content issues like newly added collections and their plans for what they want to do. And Exlibris are working to produce 2 PCI alternative coverage reports per year. So we'll see, we'll try and hold them to that. Okay, thank you. The next thing I want to talk about on the next slide was about the Community Knowledge Centre. This is a fairly new thing, and it opened on the 20th of August and it's accepting community contributions now. It was piloted with the Primo and Alma working groups. The contributors are not moderated, but they can receive feedback. There's not much content yet. I just looked yesterday, but I see it's a good alternative to keeping a copy of the best emails that you see on the mailing list, the useful things things that you find really useful. Yeah, so that's a work in progress. I look forward to seeing what all of us can contribute to that. Thing I found, newish features I'll call it, things that appealed to me. The resource recommender is, I see some libraries have it already. And I like the fact that a student can put in a general term and then the resources that are recommended by the staff can appear. For example, I get asked, I want to make sure that when students put in the word standards, they get SAI Global all the time. I can't guarantee that. So resource recommender is a good idea. Also, the next thing, in transit. I'm not sure when it's coming up, but there should be the ability to turn off the in-transit status when an item is scanned in at a particular circulation desk for a particular process. As you know, currently if you're scanning an item, it goes into in-transit all the time, every time. But are there situations where you scan something and you have to change the circulation desk, then scan it again? Sometimes that's very useful, but other times it's quite unnecessary. So that'll be an interesting thing for us all to go through and see where in transit is not that necessary. Another thing that got me excited was the comparative collection analysis. That was a talk by Yoel. You can find it in the online help. We have some slides about it, where if 2 or more Alma libraries go to Exlibris, they can do a comparative collection analysis to see where the overlaps are between the two libraries. So if two libraries want to cooperate and one library want to weed things that the other library has and vice versa, Xlibris can run that for us. So that'd be interesting if anyone wants to take advantage of that. That'll be available quite soon, I'm pretty sure. They've trialled it out on a few American libraries. And the next one is the metadata editor. As you know, there was lots of enhancements for that this time last year it was, and Xlibris is working on more enhancements, and it's coming out soon. There's a bit of discussion on whether it's actually overdue or not, but they say it's on track. So we'll see those enhancements fairly soon. So the next slide, the top-rated presentations. These are the ones that were given 5 stars. I'll just have a look at each one of them. I find Xlibris is putting up more and more products. In fact, Xlibris now, I didn't realize this, has 23 products. And on one of their slides, they say they want to increase the library's impact across the institution. And therefore, they have all these products to do that, like Pivot and Exploro and RefWorks. And also, they talked about BibFrame and how Alma data can be exported in BibFrame to other places, and how linked data is the way of the future. And what else did I find out? Oh yes, that featured collections, you can pull in data from third-party repositories, not just Alma, not just Rosetta, but other repositories as well could be pulled into featured collections, which will be an interesting possibility for some of us. And another thing that's in development, they said, was Xlibris is working with third parties to see if they can data mine the PDFs that are in digital, I think it was digital, and to find the concepts in them and then give better BX recommender results relating to those concepts within the PDFs. That's a work in progress. Next one, Browsine. I'm sure you all know about it. What I took away from that presentation was that interesting thing that 90% of searches are for publications and articles in publications, in journals, in just the last 12 months. So it's interesting that all our previous journals, only 10% of searches are for all those years of journal articles. And also when people use Browsine, the searches, they just didn't get to the article, but they also looked at 9 other articles in that same search session. The Browsine presentation, they talked about how they can get quickly to the articles and the other articles in the same journal quicker. And I think that Browsine's a great idea if you're looking for articles within that journal. But also we lose the advanced searching power of all the databases that the journal happens to be in. So that was interesting. Third one, where do you start with analytics? That was an incredible presentation. I didn't get to it, but if you have a look at it, it's a really good summary of analytics. It's a rather long presentation. There's over 90 slides in it, but I recommend, even if you're experienced with analytics, have a look at it, and I'm sure you'll find a couple of things there that you hadn't known before. And if you're just starting out with analytics, I think I really recommend it, because there's a lot of things there that I've learnt the hard way myself. That will be good to know. What's the next one? Buying the Right Stuff was from a Swedish institute, and they use usage data from their counter reports, the JR1 data. They also got data from the Web of Science, and they poured that into the Alma Bib records into some 9XX fields, and then they used Alma Analytics to get all sorts of interesting graphs about the high impact journals, which researchers from their institute are in high impact journals, costs per download, that sort of thing. So looking at the costs of their subscriptions. And one last presentation that wasn't top rated was mine. I presented and I spoke about analytics, showing examples of different reports that we get from different areas of the library, and show how analytics could be used for not just finding numbers of things, but as a tool in our day-to-day work. I was a first-time presenter. I was a bit nervous, but because I know that there's a lot of clever people on the mailing lists giving really good advice, but it turns out that many libraries are actually quite new to ALMA, and many are still migrating, and some are still on Aleph. So they're the sort of people who came to my presentation, those who are still beginners. So those who knew all about analytics went to somewhere else. So what I'm trying to say is I encourage your staff to put together a presentation for Singapore, because it's not that daunting actually doing a presentation. You think that you'll be presenting to people who know it all, but they'll be in some other presentation. And so I found that Australian libraries are really near the top of a lot of things, and we have a lot to contribute in our presentations. And so that's what I got out of IGeLU. And so I encourage people to go to Singapore and also put forward something to present as well. Be a great opportunity. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Bill. And when Bill's talking about Singapore, for those who may not have heard, Singapore is hosting IGeLU 2019 in August next year. I'm going to talk the next couple of slides about Leganto at IGeLU. So currently we have around 105 Leganto customers worldwide, which is almost double the number that we had this time last year. And 65 of those customers are live, which is also up from 28 customers this time last year. This is the second year that there's been a Leganto stream in the IGeLU conference program. And in addition to the Leganto working group business meeting and the Ex Libris product update, there were 3 presentations from customers, as well as a panel discussing Leganto. The panelists included Bibsis in Norway, Harvard University, Memorial University of Newfoundland in Canada. The discussion focused on implementation, training, outreach, and engagement. There was a great presentation from Angela Lawrence on there. So Angela is a Leganto working group member. She's from the University of Edinburgh, and she talked about their implementation experience and persistence in raising academic engagement with resource lists. All of the Leganto presentations were rated 4 out of 5 in the IGeLU app. And this presentation from Angela was a 5 out of 5. So we also had Macquarie, Kendall Kuzek presented on Leganto, impressions, adjustments and improvements. In the Leganto product update, there was mention of the roadmap highlights coming forward to 2019. And this was something that I wanted to share. This was an anniversary cake for Memorial University of Newfoundland once they'd been up on Leganto for a year. So they had a party, and they decorated the cake as a Leganto reading list. So that was a nice way to kick off our business meeting at IGeLU. Something else to draw attention to is that some of you may be aware that Ex Libris has been sponsoring an ANZREG member to go to IGeLU or Illuna. And what's happened this year is that Ex Libris' sponsorship has extended to 3 grants each for Illuna and IGeLU, awarded and distributed on an annual basis to first-time attendees. And the scholarship is in memory of Christine Moulton, who some of you may remember from Aleph days. Christine made a huge contribution to the user community, the Ex Libris user community. And it's really, really nice to see her honoured in this way. So the grants include conference fee and up to $1,000 in travel expenses. Submissions are evaluated jointly by Ex Libris and IGeLU and Illuna steering committees. And the 2018 recipients for IGeLU were Amy O'Donoghue, Laura Molokandov and Joe Chow. So Joe Chow is from Lingnan University in Hong Kong. So it was really nice to see someone from the APAC region being awarded one of the scholarships. He wasn't able to attend IGeLU 2018, so we're hoping that we'll see him in 2019 in Singapore. And this is just announcing the dates for IGeLU 2019. So it'll be the 26th to the 29th of August. It'll be hosted by the Singapore Management University Libraries. The program will include a Developers Day, an Ex Libris Product Training Day, and a Best Practice Day. Those 3 events will be run in parallel on Monday the 26th of August, and the main conference will be from Tuesday the 27th to Thursday the 29th of August. And there's a link, the IGeLU 2019 is a link to the website on the IGeLU, the web page on the IGeLU website if you want to see more information about the event and plans. And I'm now going to hand over to Lynn. Lynn, I just need to unmute you.
Thanks, Sue. So apart from all of the cakes, some points of interest were that Ex Libris have created a customer success team. This is to keep everyone happy and to make us use the products in the best way possible. And I've already had a call with their customer success team based in Chicago, and it's a really good thing to take up. And you can get on their mailing list as well. So as Bill mentioned, libraries will have the ability to nominate one so this is in addition to the NURS process, and I think it's a step forward. Improvements to Primo. We're excited because we're trying to get our Primo Google indexed so that when you search something in Google, you can find our records in Primo, and they're helping that out next year. And lastly, the National Library of Poland has contracted to Alma. Now, you might not find this exciting, but I do, because I'm always excited whenever I hear a non-university coming on board to Alma, because we do things a bit weird. And next slide, please, Sue.
Yeah.
This is what Dara looks like. So this is a mock-up that Ex Libris have sent out that will pop up in Alma to give recommendations on perhaps better ways to configure Alma. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks, Sue.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Stacey, I'm just unmuting you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep. And I'm just advancing the slide.
Okay, so some of my highlights, unfortunately, a lot of my highlights mean that I don't get to attend many of the sessions because I really use it as an opportunity to meet with Ex Libris staff as much as possible and to raise things that are of concern to me in person. So basically following up things like important Salesforce cases, which I see kind of as trends of things that I would like to talk directly with decision makers about. So if you are going to one of these conferences, what we usually do is just email quite at a high level early on to say that we're in a meeting with someone. at the conference, and then we just set up a meeting. And then also, so that was with Millie and Adi, and I met with them last year as well. So those are just some of the things that I raised with them, which is things like how long it takes to close some cases, particularly with things around analytics. Some concerns I have about the development cycle and how long it takes sometimes to get hot fixes into Primo, whereas on the Alma side it can be quite prompt. And some things I've seen in releases like wanting more quality control of things before they're released, as opposed to us seeing them in the sandbox and seeing lots of issues straight away, which means that we have to put in lots of Salesforce cases and we only have a very short amount of time for that. And then I had an additional meeting, which was an impromptu one. I was emailed while I was at the conference by Tai and No. I think that's how you say it. Apologies if not. And they were following up anyone who'd gone to the conference who had filled out the Alma New UI survey earlier in the year and who put their name on it so that they knew who those people were to contact them, of course. So I had an hour-long meeting with them. Actually, it went more than an hour because I got more excited and remembered more things as the time went on, and talked through lots of pain points, not only from my survey feedback, but things that occurred to me during the meeting. And that's been really useful because I've not only looked up Salesforce case numbers on the spot, which they took down, but I also have followed up with them with more feedback and more examples. So it's been it feels like I've got an ongoing discussion with them now, which I think is really useful, because sometimes you feel like you're a bit stuck in Salesforce. I think in that you might be getting more of a canned response and you want to actually talk to the people who can make things happen. Next slide, please, Sue. So another thing that I like to really do at these conferences is not just listen to presentations, but take the opportunity when I can to pipe up with other things that are important to us. So I go to usually a lot of the Q&A type sessions as opposed to where they're just people just speaking at you. So these are some of the ones that I attended and some of the things that I brought up. For example, we all know that we had some issues in Q2 this year with a lot of outages, and I wanted to query the discrepancies between what came out in the uptime reports as opposed to what we actually saw in practice, because I think it's important to note to Ex Libris staff that if Primo's down for 10 minutes, or if it takes 10 minutes to load a search in Primo, for all intents and purposes for our users, that's downtime, whereas they might not consider it as such and might not put it on an uptime report. And I also was interested to hear about how they consider timeframes for Salesforce cases. They don't actually have KPIs, but they stated some of these timeframes, which you can see there, which I promptly followed up to say, well, I've got a lot of cases that are a lot longer than 55 days in development. So there's that. And there was also a really great initiative that I think came out of the Alma working group with Betsy, where they suggested these where does it hurt pain point sessions. They had 3 sessions for acquisitions, fulfillment and e-resources, and I managed to get to 2 of them. And what they did is that they had 2 Ex Libris staff, one moderating and one taking notes. And basically the whole session was people just putting their hands up and detailing things that were pain points for them. And Ex Libris was busily writing them all down. And sometimes they answered things on the spot. Like, for example, I raised one of our staff who is the primary staff member for managing our sushi data. He long laments that he can't delete things in bulk for data he's loaded, that he has to go one by one and delete each one. So they did confirm on the spot that as part of the Alma new UI, like the next phase, that they're going to be bringing in concepts like being able to select all or to select a number of things with checkboxes and then take action in bulk rather than one by one, which was awesome to hear. And I also followed up with things like we've recently our UQ broader UQ has come out with quite a stronger procurement policy that we've been battling to make sure that we comply with. And I've been having lots of Salesforce cases trying to explain to them why sometimes it's not awesome that Alma automates things and that we really need to be able to control configuration sometimes. And we also need to be able to track things because we spend public money. And so we have things called financial delegates that all need to be different people. And so we really need to be able to see lots of more information in analytics like PO creators and modifiers and things like that. So I took the opportunity where I could to make sure that I told the people who can actually make change things that are important to us. And a couple of other things that were also noted, people might have seen me talking on the listserv recently about browse search functionality. And so I can't remember what session it was, but I queried it with Joel at the time about how SID also basically isn't supported in browse search, and it's not really documented that it isn't supported. It's kind of documented by it not being there. So yeah, and PreMyNurse UI accessibility issues, that's obviously really important that anytime a release comes out, that kind of the first cab off the rank is that they consider that it meets accessibility standards. So that came up quite a bit during the conference, and I piped up when I could for cases that we have as well. Could you advance, Sue?
Yeah.
Like Bill said, I was also a bit nervous because I was presenting for the first time myself as well this year. I went in 2016, but we were just at past go live then, so I barely remember anything, and it was all a bit of a blur. And in 2017, I didn't present there either. I was lucky enough to be able to attend without presenting. But this year I felt I should start actually contributing a bit more. And it was a bit intimidating, like Bill said, because my solo presentation was all about how we keep things simple, rather than doing lots of fancy things with Premo. And sometimes you feel a bit inadequate because people are doing so many wonderful things, whereas we try and focus on stability and consistency. But that's an important take on how to manage a discovery layer as well. So I think I agree with Bill that it's good to get a whole range of presentations at these sorts of conferences, and so you can see that, you know, you might be more like other sites than you think. And then I was a co-panelist on the Premo Summon Discovery panel as well with some other sites, which included the New School, Royal Danish Library, Molloy College, Adelphi University, and Montreal. And that was a bit scary actually, because I should have paid more attention to the program because I didn't realise that we didn't have any other concurrent sessions and everyone came. So, but it was really good collaborative session where we all just passed the microphone around and said our impressions of questions like what do our patrons say about usability of Premo and Summon, and what challenges and successes we've encountered on the public services side. So once we got into the swing of it, it was really quite a nice session, and it was really, we have a friendly crowd, so you get to know the people if you go to the conferences regularly. And finally, I presented as a member of the IGeLU Premo working group. Some of my work, I'm very new to the group. I was elected to the group in the 2017 conference, and so it's been a new experience for me, but I was presenting as part of my work in the public services focus group, and I was also one of the pilot group for the community contributions to the Knowledge Centre, as Bill talked about. So if you go to that, the current contributions, 2 of them are mine. So if anything looks wrong, please let me know, because it's only editable by the person who put them up for now. But we did give them feedback as part of the pilot group that it would be good to have more like of a crowdsourced type approach where multiple people could work on a submission together. So rather than just it being like locked to one person. Next slide, Sue. So this is just, that's gone a bit funky with the numbers, but that's okay. You can kind of go to the next line. So this is just the outcome of the PreMyNurse process. So as part of the Premo working group, I'm also part of the nurse enhancements team. So we do things like talking to the submitters if we need more detail and deduping and trying to understand exactly what the submitter is wanting, because sometimes the requests aren't too clear. So, and this is just, this has come up on the listserv as well with what votes came through and what we'll be getting in 2018. And it was really nice to have Ex Libris agree to let us go up to 150 development points when we should only have 100. So that was really generous of them. Next slide. And this was just a report also in the working group business meeting about what's happening with the 2017 requests. Again, this has come up through on the listserv, so I won't go through each one, but basically all of them have been done except for the hyperlinked headings, which I haven't heard anything about really. So, and I imagine that that one would be kind of a hard one to do because it would be tying the browse search together with main Premo, which is quite different because at the moment it goes to advanced search. So it'll be interesting when that one comes in. But otherwise, some awesome things that came through in the last year. And in terms of that nurse process, another thing that I take away from these conferences is that not many of us, we have a voice, but not many of us are actually using it. So both, I went to the ALMA working group meeting as well as presenting at the Premo working group meeting. And on both sides, only about 200 institutions are voting, which is not very good. I can't remember off the top of my head how many total we have. Maybe Sue, do you know how many IGeLU institutions can vote?
No, but
no, it's several hundred though, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, it's several hundred, and there's only 200 that are actually actively voting. And I think Betsy had a really interesting slide in the ALMA working group session where she showed how so many sites are doing things like picking 20, 25 ideas and spreading their 100 votes across all those ideas. And so it basically nullifies them. And a better idea for us is to do things like pick 1 to 3 ideas and put your votes there. And actually, I tweaked the slides this morning, Sue, but you must have taken a copy before then. I just put another thing like that we could collaborate with each other a bit more. So, you know, it's a prime opportunity for us in the APAC region to get together with each other and talk about things that are important to us and put our votes on like 1 to 3 ideas as a region maybe. I mean, not formally, but maybe just have more chats about it. And there was also things like trying to encourage more communication and transparency about why Ex Libris might drop things off the voting as well. Okay, so next one. Oh, and this is just a bit more about the work that we're doing in the Premo working group, which came up, of course, during the conference and in our report backs. So I'll let you know that as part of my public services group, we've got a newspaper searching survey coming out very soon. And I want to say that specifically it's not about the newspaper search product that's already in place. It's more about how users search for newspaper content, whether they're successful or not, how they do it, why they're searching for newspaper content. And along that line, it has a non-systems focus. So it's people, librarians who actually have direct contact with users who can feed back to Ex Libris this sort of like user-focused feedback on what users are actually doing and to help them develop products. It's not like for a specific product like newspaper search. So we'll see how that survey goes, but feel free to distribute it when it comes out. And you may always have seen as well that Alan Jones, the Aluna chair, sent out another survey for PreMyVE Summit, which I'm going to be attending as one of the representatives from the IGeLU Premo Working Group and also as an ANZREG committee member. The same kind of idea as the one held several years ago when they were transitioning to the cloud. And we want to make clear that it's not a separate enhancement process, but basically we want to make sure that BE does what customers need it to do. And so that survey allows us all to put in use cases and to indicate what's important to us to develop, and then we'll go, well, then we'll switch then because the product meets our needs. No one ever wants any new product to be a downgrade. So please, I encourage you to fill out that survey. And Sue, this is one again, I did put in the survey link here, so
okay,
a downloaded copy, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It just came out. So, but yeah, we'll include the link there, but I also did forward it to the ANZREG list, so please fill that out. And then just a couple more things that we're doing as part of the working group, which was emphasised at the conference, that these groups are, you know, I'm a member of these groups and I do all these activities to advocate for the community and to get the product where we want it to meet our user needs. So it's not about making ex-Libris happy, it's about making sure that our users are getting what they need. And we're almost, if you go to the next two slides are just sessions that I found useful and some of the notes that I brought back to my institution. So we want to leave time for questions. So I'll leave like this up, is available when Sue sends it out with some notes. So and you're welcome to have a look there and ask any questions now related to these. But Sue, if you want to perhaps time for questions now?
Yep. So we have one question. If people want to ask some questions, if you could type them into the chat. We have one question in chat already from Lachlan Young. Do we have a guarantee on how long Premo back office will be supported?
Yeah, did you want me to?
Yeah, as Premo working group member. If
Well, for those of you who attended ANZREG this year, you would have heard Bar speaking to this specifically, because I think someone asked the same thing there, to say that ex-Libris does not have end of life as a concept in their products. You know, they still have people on Voyager, on Aleph, they still have MetaLib, and they still have people, even though their focus is the cloud and hosted now, there's still lots of people on local installations of the back office. So there is no concept of end of support for the back office. There is definitely a concept of end of development, which we know has already happened, for example, for the classic UI, because now they're focusing on the new UI. So, and that makes sense because if they don't do that, then we're splitting things like the NURS process into two different products, and they need to focus on one. So it makes sense from that perspective. So yeah, there's no talk of terms of like, we will no longer support you after this time. Like there'll always be Salesforce ongoing. It's just that you might see like end of development coming. I mean, and you can kind of already see that with things like the back office. You know, there's bugs and things in the back office, and you know, your cases might linger. I've got several cases myself for that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully that answers that.
And thanks, Stacey. Lachlan, if do you have any follow-up question from that? There's another question from UWA. What was the fully redundant instance of PCI mentioned in Bill's presentation?
Bill, do you?
I think what that means is that if PCI goes down, and it, as we know it sometimes does, there's another instance of it ready to take over. That's what I thought they meant by a fully redundant PCI.
That was my takeaway as well, because there was only one global one, and so they were bringing a second one online. I'm not sure if that meant that some of us would go on one and some on the other. I thought it was more like you were saying, Bill, like they had one and it was completely mirrored. So if there was a problem, then the other one would kick in.
And Dave has just responded in chat saying that Ex Libris is still working on a second PCI instance, and that both PCIs will be based in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And if you one way you can track this is on the system status page. So if you filter that page by PreMyNurse Central, you'll see that there's currently only one instance, which is the PCCR01 instance for PCI, for PreMyNurse Central.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully there would be an announcement as well when that comes out. Well, Dave's giving us all the goss. We should unmute Dave.
Yes. Dave, did you want to speak?
No, not necessarily. I just thought I should mention that the summons central index has 2 instances, and they actually run in a proper redundant failover arrangement.
Yeah, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
It's good for the summons people, bad for us.
Yeah, but it's a model that exists, so no reason why we can't have similar.
Yeah.
They've only promised this for 3 years now, but it's okay.
It's the
Okay.
light at the end of the tunnel. Although it's been pretty stable lately. Like, it hasn't gone down for a while.
You just jinxed us.
Sorry, the Europeans got hit like earlier this week. Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't come around to us soon.
Okay, any more questions? If not, we might wrap up the session. Thanks everyone for being online for it, and thanks to Bill and Lynn and Stacey for presenting. And we'll get the presentation and the recording out to you as soon as possible. Have a good day, everyone. And thanks, Dave. And congratulations, Dave.
Yay, Dave.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Sue. Hey, Sue, before you go, I want to have a quick chat to you.
Yep. I'll end this session and then I'll call you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Oh, Dave, do you want to stay on and then I'll just...
Yeah, we'll just stay on it. It'll just be a quick one. It was mainly about the your thoughts on the meeting this morning.
Okay.
Oh, everyone's gone.
No,
No,
they're
10
still-
participants.
Yeah. Let me
All
just
right, I'm leaving.
stop recording.
Don't forget to download a new copy